So in this tutorial series, it's taking you from zero knowledge to mastery, and the very first step on that journey is learning about variables. So now that you have like a high-level overview of what a C# script is, let's take a look at what a variable is. If you have a guess, feel free to pause the video right now and type down in the comments what you think a variable is. Go for it. A lot of you know what they are. You encounter variables on a daily basis all the time. So what you can think of a variable as is like a box a container that you put a label on. And it could be anything. For example, it could say lives, it could be points, it could be the flavor of ice cream, the name of your player, the map that you're in, what level you're on, whatever it is. It's basically a box that holds information, and that information can change. And the thing that's important for you to remember is that all of these things that are in video games, your ammo count, your lives, your health, the level, all of those don't exist. You, as the developer, create them through variables. So to create variables, there are 3 major components that you need with an optional 4th. A lot of mistakes that I get are people putting global variable declarations within a method or outside of a class and wondering why their script is mad at them. So make sure that it is below this bracket, but above start. Okay, so the 3 things that a variable needs. Number 1, it needs to be decided, is it public or private? There's more than that, but those are the main 2. Public means that everything in your game can see this variable. Private means only this script has access to the variable, and as a general rule, most of your variables should be private. The next thing that a variable needs is a variable needs a data type. And a data type is what kind of information is your variable holding? Like, what are you putting in that box? And there's 4 main ones that you'll be working with a lot that you should be familiar with, but there's actually like hundreds, if not thousands of more types of variables. So the 4 main data types that you should know are number 1, and you can take notes if you need to, is an integer. An integer is a whole number. So like my health might be a whole number if we're making a Pac-Man game, like my lives are 3, 2, and 1. That's an integer, something like that. The next type of variable is a float. For some reason, it's called a float. Couldn't tell you why, but a float is basically a decimal. So if, for example, my speed of my car in my racing game is 55.5, that's a float. Anything that's not a whole number, integer, if it's a number, it's probably a float. The third type that you're going to want to know about is a string. And a string is basically text. So string variables are good for things like your player name. So if my player name is Anna Banana Head, that's a string. And the last data type that you're going to want to know about is a bool. And a bool is a true or false. It's like a light switch. It's either on or off. Bools are really useful for question type things. Like, for example, in Mario, if you have a level that you unlock only if you have enough stars, or if you have the key or something, you can have a bool that is like has key or has enough stars, and it's either true or false. The next thing is every single variable needs a name. So with the name of your variable, I'm pretty boring and I like to name it something that makes sense so that months later when I'm looking at the code, I understand what it does. But you can go cuckoo bananas with it and name your variables whatever you want to call them. Especially at this early stage of programming, there's little places for creative expression. So if naming your variables silly names helps you stay engaged with learning how to code, go crazy. Okay, the last thing that your variable could have when you're declaring it is a value. So you could set your int equal to something. Your bool could equal true or false. But these 3 things are the things you need, and optionally you could assign it. Okay, so let's get a little bit of practice, and don't worry if you don't memorize this. You're going to get so much practice with making variables throughout this series. So the very first thing we need is public or private. I'm going to make this variable public, and let's make it an integer. So the data type is int, and then I need to give it a name. So like, what is this variable storing that's an int? And perhaps I'm going to say it's my score. And I could just end it with a semicolon right there. Like I said, the value is optional. Or we could set that equal to something like 100. Maybe my score starts out as 100. Every statement in C# ends with a semicolon. A statement like this meaning that you're saying this variable equals something. So there's no semicolons after methods or class declarations, but like up here, these using statements have semicolons at the end. That's another really common bug, is you will probably be missing a semicolon at some point in your coding journey. All right, let's do another variable. Maybe this one I'm going to make a private, and this one will be a float, And then we need to give it a name. So maybe I'm going to call it my speed. And I could just end it there and the default value would be 0. I could also set that equal to something like 5.5. And one thing about floats that you need to know is that the variable will be upset if it doesn't have the suffix after it, f, because it's a float. Next up, we have a string. So I'm going to say, maybe I'll make this one public. Public string. And let's make this my nickname. And I'm going to set that equal to, and for strings, you put it in quotes. So my nickname is Banana Head. And then you end it with a semicolon. Okay. Lastly, let's make a bool. Public bool. And let's say the bool is going to be has had coffee today. And we could set that equal to true because I am on my 3rd cup of coffee. You could also set that equal to false if you have not had coffee. If you just ended your bool without a value declaration, the default value is false. Okay, so save your script and hop back into Unity. All right, so to see what these variables look like, we need to attach this script to a game object. So I'm going to use the cube that we created last time, and all the way at the bottom it says add component right here. You can click that and then you can type in the name of your script, which for me is main. There's another way to do it. You could drag and drop the script onto the cube up here in the hierarchy. You could drag and drop the script onto the cube here in the scene view. There's many ways to do that. But now go ahead and take a look at this part right here. You can see the variables that we created in our main script. So you can see my score is 100, my nickname is Banana Head, and has had coffee today is represented by a checkbox since it's either true or false. And you'll notice that nickname is 2 words because I used camel casing. I capitalized the N and the N, so it decided that they're separate words. And you'll also notice that we're missing my speed. And that's because the my speed variable was private. So we can't actually see that in the inspector. One other thing that I want you to notice too is my nickname I could change. I could put in like Taco Commander, and now that's overriding what's in the script. So whatever's in the inspector overrides, even though my script still says Banana Head, over here, it's actually Taco Commander. And the other thing that I want to show you is the other way that variables can change. So we can change the variable by typing in different information here, but we can also change the variable even from what's in the inspector by typing in start. So let's assign my nickname equal to something else like goober, and then let's print it out. So here's how you print out information. You're gonna get super familiar with this. It is debug with a capital D dot log with a capital L, open up parentheses, and then we can say like my nickname is, and then outside of the quotes you can add a plus sign and append the variable my nickname. End it with a semicolon. So this is going to print out the text my nickname is and add it to whatever my variable is after that, which should be goober. Your script is not saved if there's a little circle symbol up here where the X should be, so hit save, go into Unity, and let's hit play and see what it prints out. In order to see, like you can see it down here, my nickname is goober, but in order to see it, let's go to Window, General, Console. And this window is going to pop up, so I'm actually going to put console right there. And now you can see my nickname is Goober. So it's just important for you to realize that variables, when you declare them, they can be overwritten by what you type in the inspector. And even beyond that, they can be overwritten by what you write in your script. So variables can change. In the next set of videos in the series, we're going to start taking a look at some challenges where the first half of the video, I will explain to you what the challenge is. There'll be a moment where you can pause it, and then I will show you a solution to that challenge in the last half of the video to get you some practice with working with variables. Okay, see you in the next one.